October, that is 2022 on a Thursday, and looking forward to greatness. I hope that you had a great night, and it's good to have you this morning as we take you through the stories of the day, and above everything give you updates as to what is playing out in the world of news right here in the country and beyond the borders. We have so much lined up for you, including just looking at how we are prepared and how set we are gearing ourselves to make sure that in this new dispensation we have a better country. And we have seen the president and his deputy and also the chief minister upon approval, going out there to tell the people of Kenya to have the confidence in this government that is bound to change. And so we'll be looking at this and so much more: the education sector, the health sector, the economic sector, and so many other sectors that we look at as we try to unpack and have conversations that are healthy towards making the nation better. And on this, I'd request that you're part and parcel of the conversation. The hashtag is Morning Cafe at Linda_Lela TV47KE. Later on, I'll be introducing the guests that will join me for a very, very comprehensive conversation pertaining to the above mentioned. But even better is that it is Thursday, and on Thursdays, we say it's important that we keep fit. To all the karate lovers, if not karate, then taekwondo, today perhaps we get to know the difference between the two. We'll be having a martial arts moment, and we have those ones that are doing taekwondo joining us on set this morning so that we get to learn some moves. Nowadays we're told that, just get some taekwondo karate lessons. You never know when you will need them. So in all this, please once again be part and parcel of the conversation. The hashtag is Morning Cafe at Linda_Lela TV47KE. As always, 22047 is the SMS short code. We sample your comments as we continue with the broadcast. Once again, this program is Morning Cafe right here on TV47, and my name is Linda_Lela. Now let's get to business. The papers this morning, the Standard newspaper, the Daily Nation, as well as the People Daily, are the papers that we have, and so we take a look at what they detail this morning. We have TSC in talks to recruit around 58,000 new teachers. If it comes to pass, then the recruitment would be in line with President Ruto's campaign promise that if he is elected, if he's given the government, of course, definitely this government would come in to employ about 116,000 teachers in 2 years to bridge the current shortage in public schools. It would also be single largest hiring of teachers ever, and would push the number of tutors on government payroll to around 400,000. This captured on the back page of the Daily Nation. And away from it, for beauty, research shows pretty students get high marks. Well, interesting. Researchers studying effect of looks on academic outcomes found that when instruction is delivered in person, good-looking students tend to receive higher grades than unattractive ones. This is going to be interesting, especially in non-quantitative subjects in which teachers then tend to interact more with students compared to quantitative courses. This is a story captured on page 2 and 3, and like they have said, it's a question of research, and therefore it becomes hard to dispute the same, but an interesting finding right there. Initially, Azimio had about 170 members of parliament, and Kenya Kwanza had 167. And so why is it that the president seeks to see to it that he is lucky enough to get the majority at the level of parliament? And remember, the conversation is back today, as then the speaker had retreated to just try and look into this matter so that he would come back with his findings. And so today we look forward to see what his findings then would be, and whether then finally we get answers to the standoff that pits the National Assembly as to what party or what coalition then would carry the day. And so yesterday, President William Samoei Ruto giving that moment of surprise to the people of the National Assembly, or to the members of parliament and those ones that work there, by giving them a surprise visit. And so this story that has been captured on the Daily Nation speaks of why Ruto is fighting fighting to control Parliament? Is it him, or is it necessary that as the head of government, then he enjoys a majority in the House? This then hugely, you understand, will help him as well get to have some of these bills and some of these policies that he'd wish for the country sail through. Besides the 6 House leaders led by Wetangula, the 28-member committee on appointments, which will vet Ruto's CS nominees, include 22 other members nominated by the House Business Committee on the basis of proportional party members or party membership in the House, taking into consideration the numerical strength of the parties and interest of independent members. Well, this then means the side considered majority will have more representation in this committee, whose first order of business would be to vet the new cabinet. It is a moment of supremacy battle at the National Assembly, as the Speaker Moses Wetangula is this afternoon expected to rule on which coalition then between the President's Kenya Kwanza and Raila's Azimio is the majority side, as Ruto bids to control powerful committees that decide the agenda of the House and will vet his cabinet secretaries or secretary nominees. This has captured on page 4 and 5, one of the biggest stories that we'll be looking at, and therefore we welcome you to be part and parcel of the conversation on the question of diplomacy. I am sorry, Museveni pleads with Kenyans after Durant's son's military invasion jokes. A story captured on page 3 of the Daily Nation as well. It finds itself on the front page and expounded on page 4 of the Standard newspaper. Museveni says, "I'm sorry for son's bad manners." Ugandan president asks Kenya to ignore Twitter messages sent by his son threatening to take over of Nairobi, and explains why he promoted him. That is a story captured on page 4. He says that in as much as sometimes this would play out, his son also has his fair share of goodness, and his contribution to the growth of his very own nation then would have informed the fact that he was promoted. This is captured on page 4. And we also have a different story altogether. Azimio in a spin after Ruto's lunch meeting, and the opposition is reading mischief in President William Ruto's date with Speaker at Parliament on eve of determining who takes majority side. This is captured on page 6. Well, we look at that as we continue on the question of education. Teachers honored for good results. A story captured on page 6. It is necessary that we do on a time when the world was celebrating World Teachers Day. I don't know whether you took a moment to speak to one of your teachers. I know there are many, but there's always that favorite one, or at least that one that you are in contact with, just to appreciate the far that they have brought you, if not us. And on the other side, at the level of the counties, as captured on page 10, they say counties failed to collect about 216 billion revenue. What could have informed this? And when we're talking about the counties, we definitely understand how it is important for us to look into the matter of devolution, just so we are able to get it right. Those are the key stories on the Standard newspaper and the People Daily. Briefly on what, that is the Standard newspaper and the Daily Nation. Briefly on what the People Daily speaks of digital lenders on the spot. This is a very, very important conversation, and therefore we'll also be getting to understand what then it is about. And 40 mobile loan firms at risk for being fined, or at risk, or they risk being fined for exposing customer data. The Office of the Data Protection Commission also has the Aga Khan University Hospital in its crosshairs, and most of the times you want to have your data all protected, but in this world of technology, one cannot be confident that such is the case. This, as in the world of sports, our very own Wanyama is set to leave his club in Canada after 3 years contract expires, and likely he is not going to renew. The same Uganda story as Ruto visits. Well, Kampala apologizes over general tweets as cost uproar as Kenyan president prepares to travel to Ethiopia, Tanzania, and then Uganda. Yes, a story captured on page 4. And on this other side is a celebration of teachers that have performed pretty well. And so TSC State House seek ways to hire extra teachers. And those other key stories this morning allow us to as well take the ones that have been prepared by my team before then we decide what next on the conversation. This also, as this that has been captured on page 7 and 18, speaks of Uhuru off to Ethiopia, Tigray peace talks in SA, and we'll be following to see just how the South African side then will set peace meeting over this war that exists between Ethiopia and they have said that they are keen to make sure that that is a game of the past. In the global aspect of these papers, we only hope that such will be the case. Now, the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission has filed a suit in the High Court to recover about 21,659 embezzled by a private company by the name Mulwa Farm Limited in collaboration with 9 officials of the state. I am told it's about 600, yes, it's 500, it's a million actually, and therefore offices of the Department of Correctional Services, despite the EACC demand that they return the funds, the individuals failed to comply, thus prompting the filing of the instant suit. And as Paul Kirobi reports, the commission has challenged the 9 officers plus the company and its role, or the sole proprietor.
The Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission has filed a suit in the High Court in Nairobi, seeking to recover 21,697,500 shillings embezzled by a private company by the name Mulwa Farm Limited in collaboration with 9 officials of the State Department of Correctional Services. The commission also filed a case against the Mulwa company and the sole proprietor. The investigation by the commission established that in the financial year 2016-2017, 2017-2018 and 2018-2019, Mulwa Farm Limited, whose sole proprietor is Stephen Kisonzo Mulwa, received 21,697,500 shillings from the State Department of Correctional Services on account of goods not delivered. The 9 other officials are Ochoki Omayo Joseph, who at the time of the suit was a constable at Kenya Prison Service in the State Department of Correctional Services, attached to the Procurement Office; Sarah Kemunto Kerandi, who at the time of the suit was a Chief Finance Officer in the State Department of Correctional Services. The Commission EACC established that a fraudulent scheme was perpetrated jointly by all defendants involving making of false procurement documents, including requisition forms, local purchase orders LPO, delivery notes, inspection and acceptance certificates, and invoices which were used to support payment vouchers. Payment vouchers are supported by the falsified documents were then used by the public officer of the State Department of Correctional Services to effect payments amounting to 21,697,500 shillings to Mulwa Farm Limited for goods not supplied. The Ethics and Anti-Corruption wants the Commission and its proprietor Stephen Kisonzo Mulwa to be charged on falsifying requisition forms, payment vouchers, delivery notes, local purchase invoices, and S13 forms, dishonesty of receiving 21,697,500 from the State Department, receiving public property, yet it was acquired in the course of a corrupt conduct, and failing to adhere to the provisions of the Public Procurement and Disposal of Assets Act 2015. The Commission also wants the 9 government officials to be charged with making or causing to be made payments from public revenue by raising invalid or falsified approval forms for goods not supplied, preparing false procurement documents, to wit requisition form and local purchase, orders failing to adhere to the provisions of the Public Procurement and Disposal of Assets Act 2015. On August 16, 2022, EACC issued demand notice to Mulwa Farm Limited and the 9 public officials to remit the above amount. The defendants failed to pay back the amount as demanded by EACC, prompting the Commission to file a recovery suit in the High Court on 4th October 2022. EACC says that despite the stringent and multiple stages of authentication and approval of payments in government financial expenditure, cases of individual public officers embezzling huge amounts of public funds continue to thrive. The institution has now called upon all the accounting officers of public entities to take up their responsibilities in protecting the public funds entrusted under their care and control. Paul Kirobi, TV47, Nairobi.
And for clarity purposes, let's get the figures right. It is 21,697,500 shillings. And now we get to a different story. Health officials and health advocates in Bungoma County have raised concerns over the high number of prenatal and maternal deaths reported in Bungoma County. And according to the Ministry of Health, about 100 unborn children die every month in Bungoma, and it is said that 18 pregnant mothers mothers died between January and May 2022 due to maternal complications. This story was produced by Sostin Wanji and voiced by Cheptuo Boyd.
Bungoma County is one of the highly populated counties in the country, but the county has been affected by a high rate of prenatal and maternal deaths. Bungoma County Reproductive Health Coordinator Mrs. Christina Liaka expressed her worries over the high number of prenatal and maternal deaths in Bungoma, saying that the county lost 40 pregnant women in 2021. In 2022, between the months of January and May, 18 women died due to pregnancy complications. Even more worrying, she says, is the death of an estimated average of 300 children quarterly.
We still have mothers dying in our facilities. We still have babies dying in our facilities. Like for last year, the whole of last year, 2021, we had a total of 4 mothers who died in our facilities. And about perinatal deaths, on a quarterly basis, we have a total of 300 averagely.
She says the lack of antenatal care knowledge and the delayed referrals from dispensaries and community health centers are major challenges that result to prenatal and maternal deaths.
Some of the factors contributing to this are the delays from, say, lower facilities in dispensary and the health centers when they want to refer these clients to comprehensive site.
If a mother goes for this ANC, especially up to her 4th ANC, it will be easier for the facility, or rather for the service provider, to tell what her issue is.
Local-based organizations led by youth in Bungoma County have strategized to sensitize the public on the importance of antenatal care for pregnant women. Rama Isa is an advocacy and a primary health care project coordinator in Bungoma County.
We are coming in to make sure that we strengthen the referral systems within the county to make sure we reduce the delays that results to maternal mortality. We're also working to make sure we reduce the teenage pregnancy cases by making sure the county invests in family planning commodities together with youth-friendly service provision.
They have called on the national and county governments to intervene and curb the rate of prenatal and maternal deaths in Bungoma.
We still have room to also ensure that more has to be put on the table to ensure that at least this 4th ANC attendance among pregnant women goes to above, say, 70-80%.
They have also stated that 23% of adolescent girls in Bungoma County are the victims of teenage pregnancy.
Now, in light of the anticipated below-average performance of rain between the months of October and November, stakeholders from the humanitarian sector have called on the government to scale up drought management programs beyond the month of December in order to counter the dire impact of the national disaster. This even as the drought continues to ravage many parts of the country, including Turkana, Marsabit, and Garissa, as Zaina Mohammed tells us.
Speaking to journalists, representatives from the ASAL Humanitarian Network have called on the national and county governments to release available funds in order to support grassroots efforts to counter the impact of drought. The network says in light of the anticipated below-average rainfall between the months of October and November, the government should scale up drought management programs beyond the month of December.
Urge the national and county government to include in their strategic plan adoption measures that promote drought preparedness and promote alternative climate resilience livelihood options.
In Turkana County, residents have been forced to travel for close to 30 kilometers in order to seek refuge at a Catholic church in Lodwar town, where relief food is available for the affected. The residents have been stuck there for more than a week now.
Sisi tumeangamia na shida yote. Hakuna hata mbuzi ambaye tuko naye, hakuna, kila kitu imeisha. Na sasa kenye imebaki ni sisi kuangamia. Sasa tunahitaji serikali ya leo atusaidie.
Sasa hatujui kwa hile maisha sisi tuko naye saa hii Turkana kweli. Tutaanza kukula tena maumbwa ile walikuwa wanasemekana tunakula. kwa sababu mbuzi ile tulikuwa tunategemea imeisha.
Meanwhile, religious leaders in Garissa County have called on the government to come to the rescue of those affected by drought. Speaking after an interfaith meeting, the leaders said the situation in the 8 drought-stricken areas is getting worse by the day and that it's time Kenyans came to the rescue of their brothers and sisters in those areas.
Hii mkoa naye kaskazini mashariki tuko hali ngumu sana. Kwa hivyo sisi tukiwa viongozi wa dini na tumekutana hapa na IRC ambayo imetukutanisha leo, tunasema Wakenya mahali pote waamuke na watoe msaada kwa wenzao ambayo wanaumia.
Relief food flagged off by President William Ruto has arrived in Marsabit County. According to the county commissioner, residents are set to start receiving the food going forward.
So waiting for our MCAs to take off, because as you are all aware, we are just out of election. The process is on. We have presented a budget to them. They are discussing it. And once it's approved, then we will have a full-fledged intervention in the entire county.
Zainab Mohammed, T47.
And tension is high in Turkana South after heavily armed gunmen raided 3 villages in the area and made away with more than 600 domestic animals Wednesday morning. The incident occurs just a week after bandits killed 11 people, among them 8 GSU officers, as Moige William reports.
3 people are receiving treatment at the Lokicha Sub-County Hospital following a dawn attack by heavily armed gunmen who are said to have made away with more than 600 animals, among them camels, goats and cows. The attack happened in 3 villages in Turkana South, occurring weeks after 11 people were killed in the neighboring Turkana East.
Hapokote ameiba ngamia yangu 30 saa 6 usiku. Nikafuata mpaka saa 12 akaenda.
Kwa ile watu ile anasimama hapa, hata huyu nilichukua ngamia yake karibu 24 nilichukuliwa nikaenda naye, kafuata mpaka saa 12 asubuhi kaenda.
The national government is currently conducting an operation in Turkana East following the deadly attack where among them 8 General Service Unit officers were killed in an ambush by bandits, with residents calling on the government to allow them possess guns for their own protection.
Those people were yesterday, they were rich yesterday. This morning they were the poorest. They have been listed now in the list of those who are poorer in this country. So this issue between us and Pokot, it has to come to an end.
Waturkana ndio anafanya hivyo, hiyo watu wanaenda huko Mapokot. Juzi sisi likamata wauzi hapa na hiyo naibanga ambuzi usiku jioni. Ikakamata hiyo hasira ya watu huko, ndio akakuja kamea nini akachukua hiyo akafamia hiyo ng'ombe.
Among those affected in the Wednesday morning attack, which left residents of Ekoropas village displaced, have decried increased attacks, calling for concerted efforts to find a lasting solution to the issue.
It's upon the politicians from both sides, the West Pokot and Turkana, to come together and have a discussion, have a conversation over this menace of insecurity. Otherwise, the common wananchi on the ground will not be able to settle.
Elsewhere in Marsabit County, police have launched a manhunt after a police officer was killed and another airlifted to Nairobi for further medical attention after the 2 were attacked while in pursuit of cattle rustlers. Moige William, TV47.
And the family of the former principal of Bosto Mixed Secondary School in Bomet County, Isaac Wanakacha, has called on human rights defenders to compel the Directorate of Criminal Investigations, DCI, to conduct a thorough investigation to identify and arrest those who allegedly killed the teacher. Our reporter Boniface Baraza has the details.
In an interview at their home in Sinoko Village, Cherangani constituency in Trans Nzoia County, the parents of the deceased teacher, Masinde Wanakacha and Felicitas Wanakacha, said the circumstances surrounding his death are suspicious.
Aliuliwa na amepatikana huko mahali panaitwa Vinyenye.
Kifo yenyewe, Isaac alikuwa na majeraha mingi, na huku wanasema ya kwamba alijiua mwenyewe. Sasa hiyo haijaridhisha familia. lakini meno ya mbele hayakuwa meno yake. Hata akatuuliza huyu huwa na shida ya meno, hatujawahi sikia ndugu yetu ameng'oa meno ya mbele. Meno yenye alikuwa amewekewa ni artificial teeth.
His sister Naomi Nekesa says that it is illogical for the body to be found in River Nzoia 7 kilometers from his homestead, while the autopsy report shows that he was neither choked by water nor his clothes washed away by the river water.
Kuna watu neighbors wako na information, wako willing kupeana information, but unfortunately information ya mke wake peke yake ndiyo imekuwa considered. Sisi kama familia tumekataa. Mwalimu hakujiua. Mtu wewe kunywa sumu uende ujitupe kwa mto more than 7 kilometers. Angeanguka kwa mto karibu na kwake, nguo hata zingeraruka, zingevulika, kwa sababu huo mto is a big river.
Nekesa has called on DCI to investigate communication between the deceased and other parties by conducting a thorough audit on his phone conversation.
Tunataka serikali tusaidie, tujue tu ni nini kilimuua ndugu yetu, na iwe pia mwisho wa kifo kama hiki. Mbona watu wanaendelea kukufa tu kwa njia kama hiyo?
The teacher was buried on Saturday last week as the family continued to seek for justice. Boniface Barasa, TV47, Cherangani constituency, Trans Nzoia County.
Well, indeed, we hope that justice is then found. Now, despite being visually impaired, Simon Jenga, a teacher at Kariguini Primary School, has carved a niche for himself as one of the most sought-after teachers in that school. And according to Njenga, his condition did not at any point discourage him from pursuing what he wanted most, and even went ahead to practice it. Chepto Boit now tells us how Njenga goes about his day and his vast interaction with the pupils, even as a class teacher.
Simon Njenga stands out amongst his colleagues at Kariguini Primary School in Kandara, Murang'a County. Despite being visually impaired, he is able to run about his duties just like other teachers with minimal assistance.
Kama ni hii environment ya shule nimeielewa jinsi ilivyo, hata wakati niko kule nyumbani naelewa jinsi kulivyo. Nimezoea kazi hali hii, na kwa sababu nimezaliwa na katika kutoona.
For 12 years, Njenga has been a teacher for Kiswahili and Christian Religious Education CRE and has also doubled up as a class teacher in one of the streams in class 7. According to him, his condition never hinders his day-to-day calling to teach.
Sababu kila mwalimu huwa anatumia silabasi kumuongoza, na silabasi inatuongoza kujua pale ambapo tumefika. Sasa mimi najua silabasi nimefika mahali fulani, na hiyo sehemu inapatikana katika ukurasa fulani na sura fulani ya kitabu. Ndio sababu umesikia nikiwaambia fungueni sura 25 sehemu ya sarufi, kwa sababu hapo ndipo silabasi tumefikia hapo.
He however narrates that parents and pupils at the school took time to accept him. Despite that, his pupils' performance motivate him to be better, and in some instances, his class does better compared to others. Surprisingly, he knows his pupils by name and sitting positions.
Katika masomo yangu, mwaka uliopita KCP Kiswahili, darasa langu lilikuwa na mean score 53.6. Nikilinganisha darasa hilo lingine ambalo lilikuwa na 50.
Kwa ni mwaka 2021. Somo la Bwana Njenga lilipata mean score ya 50, na mwaka uliopita wa 2020 somo hilo lilikuwa limepata mean score ya 38. Kwa hivyo alikuwa na nyongeza kubwa.
Esther Nyambura assists Njenga at times in marking assignments and administering exams.
Wakati anaenda darasani tunaenda pamoja. Wakati anahitaji nishaize kazi ya watoto naifanya, nasaisha. Tunapoandika ubao pia mimi hufanya hiyo kazi yote.
Mwalimu ambaye kila siku kutoka Januari mpaka Disemba, yeye hakuna siku anafika hapa saa 1. Anafika hapa saa 12 dakika 20, saa 12 dakika 10 na kitu, na akifika tu yeye anaenda darasani.
The popular teacher in the school, however, says lack of braille equipment at the school presents a challenge to him. As the world celebrates the Teachers' Day, Simon Njenga is one of the teachers being celebrated in Karigoini Primary School. Chepto Boyd, TV 47.
Beautiful story there. Now, Kenyans as well joined the world in celebrating World Teachers' Day, with the theme being education reforms begin with teachers. Now, teachers from different counties gathered for the celebrations and took the opportunity to talk about the challenges they are currently facing, including the CBC curriculum. Beatrice Watare with the details.
In Kisumu County, some teachers expressed satisfaction with the CBC curriculum, even though they have experienced a few challenges with it. They also urged the new government officials appointed by President William Ruto to review the curriculum in collaboration with teachers in marginalized areas before making an informed decision.
Watakapoanza shughuli rasmi ya kuweza angalia nyufa zilizo na hata kuziziba, basi waweze kufikia watu walio katika mashinani ama katika viwango vya chini, ili wapate maoni, baadaye waweze kufanya maamuzi ya hekima, maamuzi ambayo yataweza kuwafaa wanafunzi kwa jumla na hata taifa hili kwa jumla.
Teachers in Bungoma County, however, expressed dissatisfaction over unemployment even after graduating.
Pia kuna mambo mengi ambayo yanafanya tunajutia kuwa walimu. Kwa mfano, kama mimi binafsi nilipohitimu mwaka wa 2013 hadi wa leo sijui serikali na mikakati ipi. Imenifanya mpaka nimejidunisha kabisa.
The father called on the government to focus on reviewing their salaries, including facilitating CBC training for the teachers.
Changamoto tu ambayo walimu tunapata ni yale mapato madogo ambayo tunapata, especially wenye tunafunza vile vya kibinafsi. Kisha ule mtaala wa CBC pia umetupatia changamoto. Tunaambiwa ni lazima urudi shule ndiposa uandikwe, na wengine wetu hatuna karo.
Reporting for TV 47, my name is Beatrice Watari.
And still on the same, leaders of teachers' unions want teachers to receive an increment of 60% in their salaries as motivation. This was proposed on a day that the world celebrated World Teachers' Day. And as our senior education reporter Sharon Baranga reports, 264 outstanding teachers spread across the country in each of the 47 counties were recognized at an event that had been organized by the Teacher Service Commission. Another 51 teachers who won national honors over the last 2 years, 21 of whom were awarded in 2022, were also recognized.
It was a day set aside to celebrate the contribution teachers have made in the lives of their learners. In Nairobi, the celebrations to mark World Teachers' Day took place at the Kenya School of Government, and it was organized by the Teacher Service Commission. A number of teachers were invited to the event. Among them were teachers who received awards in various categories that they excelled in the last year.
So the top 2021 KCP school per region.
The active role teachers play in the lives of their students was emphasized, but also the challenges teachers go through in their line of duty also came to the fore, with some union leaders proposing a 60% salary increment for teachers.
The teacher must be well resourced, and of course the teacher must be well enumerated. As we look at the part of the enumeration which the Teacher Service Commission handles with our unions, the issue of the security becomes key to any central government. It is my appeal that as we move forward to ensure that our teachers continue performing well, issue of security in our areas, many of our areas should be looked into. In order for the teacher to get the required teaching learning materials, funding of education programs is important.
How can teachers teach in environments which are very uncomfortable? If you want us to transform education, we must be comfortable where we work. So the TSC chair, who is the chief guest, I know as part of your speech will include, among other things, addressing the stagnation of teachers of this country, and ensuring that you lobby for the 58,000 teachers that the new government has committed to give us.
We welcome the task force to review the CBC. But how do you arrange a burial? The owner, the family members are not included. We are questioning that, but we support. Madam CEO, this is directed to you. Our principals and head teachers, let us know simple laws. How can you write an eviction letter to a member of staff 7 days? That is in Kajiado, it is in your desk.
Teachers can only work if they are motivated and well paid. This has been proven through various research findings, and here we have already presented a proposal of 60% salary increment to teachers, regardless of the position of economy in the country. This is our presentation because this is our work. If I don't do that, then I shall have not worked.
Last month, the Teacher Service Commission employed and posted over 14,000 new teachers who replaced teachers who left service through national attrition.
Be assured that the Kenyan teacher can only expect good things going forward, and that we shall be telling you how to go on with this recruitment as per the Kenya Kwanza Charter. We are also cognizant of the fact that we are also busy preparing for one of the busiest national examination period in our country. Granted that we will be administering 3 national examinations, KCP, KCSE, and for the first time, Kenya Primary School Education Assessment, which is now being called KEPSEA for grade 6. And our teachers are expected to undertake all this once again.
According to TSC, the teachers recognized had consistently demonstrated exemplary performance in teaching, management, and effective delivery of the curriculum for quality education and community service. Sharon Baranga, TV 47.
Now, members of Parliament have sent mixed signals over President William Ruto's impromptu visit, where he had lunch with members, with some saying that such moves might render Parliament powerless, as our parliamentary reporter Elizabeth Mutuku reports. The visit comes just a day before National Assembly Speaker Moses Wetangula rules over the majority tussle between Azimio and Kenya Kwanza, which takes place today.
This is how President William Ruto sneaked in Parliament and caught the speakers of National Assembly and Senate, as well as members of both houses, by surprise. The duo and members rushing to where he was set for lunch. This sending mixed signals among members of Parliament, some fearing the legislative arm of government might lose its independence with current moves by President. However, Kenya Kwanza allies James Gakuya, Richard Yegon and Nimrubai insist Parliament will continue to operate independently and there is no cause for alarm over President's visit.
Kuna independence katikati ya the arms of government. Executive inahitaji bunge, bunge inahitaji executive. Wale watu tunaweza sema wawacho kabisa ni judiciary. Wale hatuwezi sema president atangamana nao karibu, kwa sababu yao ni sheria kabisa. Na sheria haihitaji president aende kutafsiri, imeandikwa. Lakini hapa mpaka president aniongeleshe nimpitishie Hustler Fund. Kwa sababu ilikuwa ni jambo aliambia wananchi na yeye yuko mbunge kupitisha, kwa hivyo atahitaji wa mbunge.
Hiyo ni njia ya kielelezo kizuri kwamba wakati wowote anaweza ingia hapa na hakuna mpaka, kwa sababu yeye ashakuwa mbunge hapa, ashakuwa mbunge kwa tamu 3 mfululizo. Kwa hivyo hii bunge hata kuja kula pamoja nasi hapa, kuja kusalimiana na watu wa staff hapa ni jambo muhimu sana. Kwa hivyo mimi ningetaka kusema kama kuna watu wanaona hiyo ikiwa jama ya aina yoyote, mimi kwangu sio jama.
It's no different if we meet anywhere. People always have speculations. And today, Maybe you know Ruto is the president himself. He's a workaholic, and he want even the ministers which he has,
On the other hand, the Azimio la Umoja members say the move by President Ruto might render the House powerless and more so tilt the voting pattern, especially by members urging President to draw the line over the two arms of government.
What Kenyans actually need. So I cannot guarantee we will have independent parliament. We've seen it, and even we are seeing it tomorrow. I'm expecting Deputy Speaker even not to declare Azimio as majority. The Speaker, sorry.
The mandate is well clear and well entrenched in the Constitution. And I don't think the President wants to untwist the legislature to have his way through here. This is a house controlled by the rule of law. Let us stick to that. The rule of law, let him have his line, we have our line, and we move on.
The president's visit comes a day before National Assembly Speaker Moses Wetangula is expected to make Solomonic ruling over majority and minority issue between Kenya Kwanza and Azimio One Kenya. The visit sends different signal on leadership style, with President unofficially visit Parliament for the first time since promulgation of the 2010 Constitution. Elizabeth Mutuku, TV47 Pan Biddings, Nairobi.
The Azimio One Kenya coalition legislators are now the victims of the political parties bill that they hurriedly passed in 2021 December, as questions arise on whether the outfit is a political party or a coalition party. This comes ahead of the much anticipated ruling by the Speaker of the National Assembly, Moses Wetangula, on which coalition has the majority in the National Assembly.
National Assembly Speaker Moses Wetangula is on Thursday afternoon expected to make a ruling on which coalition between Kenya Kwanza and Azimio la Umoja forms the majority in the House.
A reasoned ruling touching on the facts, the jurisprudence, the constitutionality of the issues, and any other matters that you conversed on Thursday.
Azimio had proposed to Gunja Member of Parliament Opiyo Wandayi as majority leader to be deputized by Kadhiani MP Robert Mbui. Kenya Kwanza fronted Kikuyu Member of Parliament Kimani Ichung'wah as a majority to be deputized by Kilifi North MP Owen Baya. Meanwhile, members of Parliament were on Tuesday treated to a light moment in Parliament after Garissa Township Member of Parliament Aden Duale used the comical phrase "Murife, don't run."
As they say, Murive, don't run.
Duale pointed out that he had warned members of the 12th Parliament against passing the Political Parties Amendment Bill, which paved way for political parties to form coalition parties.
I told my colleagues then that don't make laws that will haunt you. And there are people who are running away from that chaos.
In December 2021, President Uhuru Kenyatta assented into law the controversial Political Parties Amendment Bill 2021. In an interesting turn of events, these same legislators who flexed their numerical strength to pass the amendment are now crying foul as they scramble for majority leadership in Parliament, with questions arising on whether Azimio is a coalition political party or a coalition of political parties.
Emanates from the passage of the amendments to that political party's amendment bill in the last Parliament, Honorable Speaker.
The reason why Azimio was accepted to be registered is because it is a corporate political party.
Azimio pushed for the bill as it sought to lock out members in the coalition by reducing pre- and post-election defections. Contrary to that, several parties defected from the coalition before and after the general polls, hence the tussle of numbers being experienced now.
You cannot engage in another marriage, Mr. Speaker, and marry another person before you divorce the first one, Mr. Speaker. And when you want to divorce, there is a divorce procedure to follow, Mr. Speaker. You must divorce procedurally, Mr. Speaker.
You cannot coerce anybody into loyalty. You can only build friendship. Grow the friendship so that it will turn into trust.
This puzzle now lies in the hands of the National Assembly Speaker Moses Wetangula as he makes the decision on which coalition has the majority in the House. Flora Limuki, TV47.
Now, Ugandan President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni has apologized to Kenyans for his son, General Muhoozi Kainerugaba. This is a tongue twister. Kainerugaba's controversial tweets that caused an uproar, threatening to sour diplomatic relations between Uganda and Kenya. President Museveni is in a signed statement, asked Kenyans for forgiveness, saying it was out of order for Ugandan public officers to comment on interference or in affairs with the affairs of the brotherly countries. President William Ruto is expected to travel to Uganda Saturday.
Ahead of President William Ruto's visit to Uganda on Saturday this week, President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni moved in to ease tension caused by his son's careless, wild and controversial tweets threatening East Africa's economic powerhouse Kenya with an invasion in less than 2 weeks. Museveni apologized to Kenya over the surly tweets by General Muhoozi Kainerugaba that annoyed diplomats in both countries, in a statement saying, and I quote, "Very sorry ndugu zetu wa Kenya. I ask our Kenyan brothers and sisters to forgive us for tweets sent by General Muhoozi, former commander of land forces here, regarding the election matters in that great country." Museveni reprimands his son further, saying, and I quote, "It's not correct for public officers, be they civilian or military, to comment or interfere in any way in the internal affairs of brother countries." General Muhoozi tweets, which had raised a diplomatic storm and a flurry of reactions in both countries, had threatened to jeopardize President William Ruto's Saturday visit to the annual Uganda Manufacturers Association meeting this week. To avoid what would have added salt to injury, Museveni explained why he promoted General Muhoozi to a full general, terming him as a first-time offender. Museveni says, and I quote, "Why then promote him to full general after these comments? This is because the mistake is one aspect where he has acted negatively as a public officer." He continues, and I quote, "There are, however, many other positive contributions the general has made and can still make. This is a time-tested formula. Discourage the negative and encourage the positive." Muhoozi's tweets had drawn retired President Uhuru Kenyatta's name in his social media rant, saying he regretted why Uhuru did not vie for a third term. He laughed off Kenya's respect for the rule of law before controversially remarking it will take him and his army 2 weeks to capture Nairobi and take control, invoking anger from Kenyans. Apol Kamau, TV47.
Thank you, Apollo, for that very story also that forms the basis of our conversation, perhaps not to delve much on it, because the long-awaited apology then finally came, and therefore we can say that we sit, comfortable knowing that really nothing fishy would be happening. But then again, still there are others who would say it is not that moment that we accept and move on. Sometimes we need to have our soldiers hovering the different parts of the borders to make sure that we are protected. Whether it is the case or not is a question of wait and see. As well, I'd love to hear what the lady and the gentleman that I have on set have to say about this. All politicians and also pundits as pertaining to matters politics in the country, and have as well offered themselves to present their people respectively on different dockets. And for that reason, we appreciate them this morning. And so allow us to introduce them. I should have wished to start with the lady, but she's somewhere at the center, so I think I'll be forgiven for that, Madam Patience. But then again, right next to me, Honorable Ndegwa Wahome, who's a lawyer as well as a politician. Mheshimiwa, how have you been?
Very well, leader.
Nyandarua is all good?
Nyandarua is good. We thank God. Lots of rains.
Right.
And we continue being the food basket for the rest of the country.
Yeah.
And we are happy for that position that we occupy.
And we are grateful for that. But
yes,
sometimes we're told you lag behind development-wise, and we ask ourselves why, even when we get to enjoy so much of nice potatoes from that end. The leadership?
I think it is a question of leadership. I hope we have broken the jinx by sending away all that powerful person in the manifestation of Francis Kimemia. And actually, we have not seen him in Nyandarua since the elections, and we don't expect to see him again.
Yes.
He had just transgressed. I think he had lost direction and came to Nyandarua, and we embraced him. But actually, he has left, and we don't expect to see him again there.
It is so silent,
5 wasted years.
Right.
And the Nyandarua, they are very optimistic, and we are looking forward to defining a new trajectory in terms of development.
Right.
And maybe at this point, I would also want to congratulate our teachers. Yesterday was World Teachers Day.
Yes.
And the teachers have done good things. Right. We are here because of teachers.
Because of them, I agree.
All the way from nursery school, I remember. Actually, I might not remember names of teachers, some teachers in primary school or secondary school. But in nursery school, Miss Waweru, Mama Getau, that person is the person who molded you.
Right.
And yesterday when I saw the teachers celebrating, that nostalgia. And I think we thank Kenyans. We are happy that TSC is taking proactive measures to ensure that they take care of their welfare.
Yeah.
They are coping with CBC even without a lot of training.
That's true.
And with a lot of peer running and benchmarking as we politicians do. And therefore, teachers, heckle, and we wish you all the best, and we support you.
And I think it's that moment that I also say heko to our teachers. At least I remember Mrs. Wanyoike, Mrs. Bogwa, Mrs. Thuo, and all these many teachers that really trained me at some point. We appreciate them. And this goes to the level of university and beyond. Indeed, they did a great thing to take us where it is that we are. And as well, we'll be looking at some bit of education matters that have been captured this morning. But not before we get to as well introduce Patience Nyange, politician and or a political activist if you want. And you know, if you've been keen on what is happening in the world of news and that of women, then you must have seen Patience as well. Also presented her bid to, you know, represent her people, and that is one thing that we always celebrate any moment we have guests that have done that, because first of all, women have been looked at as those ones that are not really excited about taking up leadership positions, but we are redefining this, and so it's good to have you. Karibu.
Asante sana, Linda. Thank you so much. I'm very happy to be here with you this morning. I'm honored to be part of this conversation this morning. And yes, as I say, everyone thinks it's a very brave move for you to go for political seat. I actually look at it as trying, because you know it's in trying that you know you can do it. So, well, I must appreciate my people in Taita Taveta, those who believed in me and gave me the votes, those who believed that I could actually go for the seat. And well, there's always another time. We live to fight another day.
And I think that's the beauty of it all.
Exactly.
You know, you always have to be out there, articulate the issues that affect the people, and you know, when it's time, then it becomes time. And if there's a person who's hoping and praying that then we see the likes of Murkomen sail through at the level of Parliament, that is on the vetting process for CSs. And I'm telling you, is this gentleman that I'm about to introduce, Tim Kipchumba. Thank you for creating time to be with us.
No, thank you for having me.
Tell us some more about Elgeyo Marakwet.
No, we are excited for Honorable Murkomen. He's done really well for the last 10 years. But it's now time for, you know, for bigger duties, as it were. And we are stepping forward to help, you know, fill up the shoes that he left. But we wish him really well.
All the best. All the best to Murkomen and all the best to you. All right, allow us to take a quick short break from that moment of introduction, and then we get to the conversation after this break.
You are watching TV 47, the home of untold stories.
Usiyakubalie maumivu ya misuli kukatiza.
Disability is not only limited to physical disorder, but also mental issue. From depression,
I was under depression for like 2 years.
Bipolar.
Bipolar disorder is a mood disorder.
And even suicidal thoughts.
When I was just about to hang myself, a certain voice just talked to me, and I believe that was God. I tried suicide more than 6 times.
Beyond the Limit has gone beyond its limit to find answers so as to help everyone go through life with ease. Join Muthoni Maina every Saturday at 7:30 p.m. Starting this September at 8:30 p.m. on Tuesday, The Realtor brings it all to perspective. We identify a property, discuss and demonstrate the journey towards ownership.
Professionals who have integrity, and from their catalog you can easily read that these are professionals who are able to deliver.
Everywhere you go, you have to up your games, you have to go with the trends.
Not forgetting the margins as well as the risks that come along.
The runaway prices of the land. We are saying that it's something that we can never go without mentioning. Any developer will not go without mentioning price of land.
Don't miss out. Do you want the latest news on farming? We've got the WikiLeaks for you. Get it? No? Well, okay. Every week, we give you insights on different farms, from crop farming to animal keeping.
They're very hardy insects, yeah? The larvae is a very hardy insect.
We look forward to having an optimum production in maybe about 5 years. Yes.
Oh.
Yeah.
So we plant every week.
Now on our premiere episode.
Disability is not only limited to physical disorder, but also mental issue. From depression.
I was under depression for like 2 years.
Bipolar.
Bipolar disorder is a mood disorder.
And even suicidal thoughts.
When I was just about to hang myself, a certain voice just talked to me, and I believe that was God. I tried suicide more than 6 times.
Beyond the Limit has gone beyond its limit to find answers so as to help everyone go through life with ease. Join Muthoni Maina every Saturday at 7:30.
All right, welcome back to the broadcast, and the conversation is still on right here as we try to unpack, the political situation. Remember, we're also waiting for the CSs to be vetted, but not before then. What plays out at the National Assembly today is addressed, and the Speaker, Moses Wetangula, promises that today is the D-Day, and therefore he will be making his submission as to who is the majority and minority. And so as we get to this very important conversation, allow us to loop in the guests once again so that we get to understand what way forward for the nation. It is important and in order that the House is in order as soon as possible for all these businesses to be transacted. And once again, Honorable Ndegwa Wahome, and forgive me, Mheshimiwa, because I think it's necessary that every time we highlight that you still hold the position of the chair of the county assemblies until the November the 28th, you say?
Yes, that is the day I'm heading over.
Yes, the excitement is there. Yeah. But then again, it's interesting how the county assemblies are active, and we like the stamina and the conversations that are ongoing as to getting us speakers as well as just forming the mini houses. It probably tells us that from these individuals then would be able to get members of parliament in future that will be forming houses of debate, because that is what we've lacked in the past years.
Actually, I think that the county assemblies forum and generally the speakers and the MCs in this country have taken their space in the devolution family, and also in this country. In the last general elections, we had 2 persons elected as governors from MCs. One was an MC in Nairobi, is the governor Isiolo. The other one was the speaker for Mandera, is the governor Mandera.
Nice.
We also have senators who have come from either MCs or staff of the assemblies. Like now the senator for Nyandarua, John Muhemedo, was my personal secretary.
Nice.
We have this, the MP for Vihiga, Sabatia.
Yeah.
Actually, he was also a PA to the clerk to Vihiga County Assembly. Nice. And we have several other like Kirinyaga, where an MCA is the senator. In Tharaka-Nithi, the MCA is a senator. Women reps, all of our MPs are over 22. I think they are 22 or 23 former MCAs and speakers who are either governors, senators, member of parliament, or women reps.
Right.
So we are effectively taking that space. And I think that the trajectory that the County Assemblies Forum has taken, with the support, especially of the Senate, and to an extent the National Assembly, We are opening new frontiers, and we think that is the incubation space now for future leadership of this country, in the assemblies.
Well,
yes.
All right, and we briefly mentioned before we loop in Patience and Tim, we speak of a possibility of having some of these that have been picked from respective dockets that they've already been elected as, preferred nominees or nominees for the CS positions. That is, of course, what was mentioned, or what it is that was presented to us by the president. They're waiting, to go through the vetting process of the National Assembly. But also, questions are here, just like the likes of Tim Kipchumba here would be waiting to occupy or to fill up the space, and in a positive way, they say. This ones will leave behind, during the moments of by-elections. There are openings that a person who's been elected on perhaps what would be looked at as a lower seat, they would decide to, take a step ahead.
Now, actually, that issue has been decided by Professor Goge in Nakuru, and also in the case of Wajiko Kibe for Gatudu North, where she was charged not to have resigned as an MCA before she contested for MP. The same case, the IBC had declared that no MCA would contest for MP or any other seat except the MCA position without resigning. But that was said would be to disenfranchise these people during that time that this person would have left office. There would not have been public participation, which is very core or key in our constitution. And therefore, as things stand now, an MCA in Nyandaro, like Kipchumba here, if Mheshimiwa, is an MCA, he would actually, on the ground of those decisions by the Court of Appeal and the High Court, contest the Elgeyo Marakwet senator seat, even if he was an MCA without first resigning. Yes.
Okay, and then later on they would come to resign, and now take their people to a by-election.
If he succeeds, he resigns immediately. If he does not, then he continues to serve the people of his ward.
Well, that's interesting. That really is interesting, and we're here waiting to see. But, even before we get to understand what is likely to play out at the National Assembly, Patience, we have seen Ngirichi, that is from Nyandarua, not from Nyandarua, from Kirinyaga, of course, revisiting her position of challenging Waiguru's win, and she decides that, she will withdraw from the case. Many would argue that maybe it was that powerful phone call that she received, but whichever way, we have seen very little cases, or very few cases presented to the courts in terms of challenging the elections. Good trajectory, or sort of we've gotten to a space where we say, after all, justice will delay. Before you know it, you've spent a lot of money and really nothing much has been done. And I mean, that is not to say that we've not registered few individuals who vied for specific positions and they felt like they were shortchanged.
Yeah, well, I think for me, I received it as a good trajectory, I would say. It was very positive based on what she wrote yesterday. I think she had a long post explaining her reasons for the same. And I think I looked at it as, it was within her democratic right. If she felt she would change, she had every right to go to court and explain her case and provide the evidence that she had. But of course, yesterday she explained, she said it's not because of lack of evidence. We just decided I'm happy to work with the current governor, who is Madam Anne Waiguru, and I'm happy to support her in her zeal to Kirinyaga, to steer Kirinyaga to a different direction altogether, or to the next level. And in her writing, she says, Kirinyaga people first. So I looked at it as probably having conversations with the people of Kirinyaga. And of course, there's another time, really, in 5 years' time, where Guru will have done her 2 terms. And so maybe she's looked at the bigger picture and said, well, there's another opportunity for me, and I'm happy to do this. I'm happy to help her in her quest to lead the Kirinyaga people. And then in another 5 years' time, I'll probably give it a shot. Again, there are also other prospects lining up maybe for her. We don't know, because she didn't give any indication as to be, there could be a big phone call, or, a phone call from someone else who said, step down for this, but we have other cases, we have other opportunities for you. That was not started And I think for me, I looked at it as these are two women, you know, and who fought tirelessly for that seat. And I think both of them had presented good cases as to why they will be good governors for Kirinyaga. And I think working together is an indication that probably it's mature politics at some level. That's how I look at it.
All right. And, you know, beyond the fact that they presented their bid to the people of Kirinyaga, there was the party factor. And remember the jitters that were there when we saw Waiguru shift gears from this other side to that side. If there's a person who was a little bit disgruntled, then it has to be Ngirichi. And so they say that she's been a diehard of the UDA. And they do not say, we have seen that, I think. And as the president and the deputy would say, theirs is always a mission of, you know, first of all, appreciating those ones that have been diehards, you know, acknowledging and appreciating friendship. And therefore, do you suppose this is beyond what it is that we see? The Star would otherwise say that, you know, there was that powerful phone call that got, you know.
I would expect as much. I would expect that, you know, the president that we have right now is very hands-on. I would expect that, you know, he would go out of his way to make sure that, in fact, you know, Anne Waiguru has the best chance to serve the people of Kirinyaga, as it were. So I would expect that he would participate because, you know, the president is very hands-on. But the other thing also is that, I think that the elections were reasonably verifiably transparent. And so for that reason, even if it was, you know, a small majority, you know, UDA and Kenya Kwanza, as it were, they now have the mandate of the people, and anything that can actually allow them to begin serving the people of this country, I think they should be allowed. Otherwise, we will have excuses again in 5 years, and they, you know, and this government will always have a reason to say, you know, we were not given an opportunity. We always kept, you know, getting roadblocks. So I think that, but in the case of Honorable Ngirishi, I think she will do really well. In another 5 years, she will get a chance to be. We've seen in the past people like Honorable who would have been Buseki. Honorable Buseki would have been the governor today for Singishu, but it couldn't be because he you know, he took a very hard stand, and I don't think, you know, for the image of Ngirichi and for her career in future, that would have been befitting. I think the right thing would be to just sort of let go and say, you know what, I lost this time round. There could be an opportunity to serve in this government, and I should potentially prepare for you know, for the next 5 years. I mean, 5 years will just come and pass, and Honorable Waiguru will not be there. She will not be contesting again for governor. It will be fantastic 10-year run for her.
All right, and of course, not the Star, but definitely the People Daily that speaks of the fact that it was wide, you know, consultative, and most importantly, there was that coercion, if not coercion, then at least request from the president, and perhaps then it's at that point that you start asking whether then there will be something for her in this very case. And most of the people are awaiting to be awarded, first of all, because of the aspect of party loyalty, and we all understand that the government is big. Just how important would it be for the president to work with those ones that were loyal to him, understanding how politics then really, and I mean with the little books that we've read, the likes of the Prince, that speak of moments where the very same people who know you very well, the very same people who've worked closely with you, then end up shortchanging you.
Okay, I think first leader is, I would wish to thank Wangui Ngirichi for her move yesterday. And I think that for Wangui Ngirichi, that move was very strategic. She knows that Anne Waiguru is not going for governor in 2027, and she knows that probably that seat would be for her to lose in 2027. But if they brought out their acrimony in courts, and service delivery in Kirinyaga was not as expected by the people, then obviously she would have a lot of work to do in 2027 to assure the people of Kirinyaga that she was not part and parcel of the failures of the government between 2022 and 2027, because you do not expect that the governor would have operated at optimum if that matter was in court. The same thing that happened between 2017 and 2022, when they went all the way to the East African Court of Justice to try to resolve the electoral dispute in Kirinyaga. So that was very strategic. The second thing is that Wangui Ngirichi has worked with the president for a very long time. Actually, she was a founding member of the United Democratic Alliance. She is one of those people, just like ourselves, who have served in the hands of the previous administration because of associating with the president. And I think all through, even when she moved out of UDA to being an independent candidate, her association with the president has always been warm and cordial. And she is very qualified to serve in any position in this country. Therefore, that was a very strategic retreat. And I think that for the president, those who have known him closely, he will never force anything on anybody. He will sit you down and look you in the face. And at the end of the day, you leave that place having agreed on the way forward on many, many issues. Yes.
All right. Well, interesting. Mheshimiwa, you decided that you will not challenge the election of Kirinyaga?
Grish?
No, you? Not Kirinyaga now.
Nyandarua.
Nyandarua.
Actually, on my part,
yes.
I would want to say that I am a supporter of the president.
The president, yes.
And you know what has happened in Nyandarua because of my support for the president, where even the bunge in Nyandarua was closed for 8 months, trying to eject me just because I'm associated with the president and also for my position as the chairman of the County Assemblies Forum. It was thought that I'm very influential, and then associating with the president today. Then they thought that that was very dangerous for them, for the previous regime, and those things happened in Nyandarua. So I was not able to participate in the UDA nominations.
Yes.
So I went to a fringe party, that is the CSK, because I was cleared by the courts through the free-for-us impeachments on that 1st of March, just 2 weeks before the UDA nominations. So there is no way I could have participated. So I went into a fringe party associated with the president, contested, but our people had decided that they wanted to coalesce around UDA.
Right.
And the principles between of UDA and CSK are the same. The manifesto is the same. Even
in fact, as we speak today,
we are folding up.
Yes,
actually, what we are just going to move seamlessly into UDA. Today, I'm very proud that I did not have to move or to struggle to move into UDA. That by operation of the law, I will be a UDA member. So on the second day, reader, after the elections, when I found how the voting patterns were happening, I wrote to the governor today and considered the defeat. And as of now, I have told him I don't want anything in that government. I don't want to work with the devolution, at the devolution space at the county level, and we shall support him. Therefore, I'm contented, and unless he misbehaves, like the previous governor, we are watching him very closely.
All right.
He applies the resources of Nyandarua properly. He meets the aspirations of the people of Nyandarua. He addresses their concerns. Otherwise, we are going to give him space. If he doesn't, then he should wait. He should be looking over his shoulders that we shall be coming for him very soon. Otherwise, we are going to give him all the space, all the support to deliver for the people of Nyandarua. They have cried for a long time. It is a time now to relax and see monies that they contribute serving their purposes.
All right, Patience, and now Museveni officially gives us that apology that very many people have been waiting for, so that at least there's an essence of peace. We kept on reminding ourselves that we cannot just sit pretty, in as much as the Foreign Affairs appointee, the Foreign Affairs Minister appointee tells us that really there's no cause for alarm. We all said no, not just yet. Can we trust Museveni on this?
And I think before the Foreign Affairs Minister made the statement, Kenyans on Twitter had already...
I mean, we can do that, and we can do it proper.
The fight became let's handle it. This is a matter before our own hands. So while I think it's we can trust President Museveni on this, and I think he sent a statement, and in his statement he starts with a good apology. Poleni sana ndugu zangu wa Kenya, and of course he goes on to explain and really takes responsibility over the son's tweet, and says he's very apologetic on what has been said, and reiterates his commitment to ensuring that there is a cordial relationship between Kenya and Uganda, and which we have seen for the longest time. I mean, he was here days, is it 2 weeks or 3 weeks? For the inauguration of our president. So I think clearly it's a mistaken tweet, and we can trust in his statement. And well, I think Ugandans have been served by Kenyans and notice.
Oh yes, they have been.
That has been loud and clear. I went through those tweets and I said, ish.
Can we just be polite for a moment? Can we just be polite? And Kipchumba, you know, Bobby Wine reminds us that it's not so easy in Uganda and therefore can never be easy for us. Can we take that, you know, the pinch of salt? Can we say, well, the president himself has spoken and therefore let's quell this battle that has been there. But even before it gets to that level, what will it take for leaders in such important positions to be tamed on some of the utterances that they make, especially when it pertains to not just their own country, but it goes to our brothers, you know, the bigger picture, the African continent, the East African community, and the global fraternity?
I mean, I think we must trust President Museveni, but what worries me, we must trust him because as a good neighbor, if your neighbor says, you know, I come in peace, generally as Africans we should believe that they come in peace. What worries me is that, you know, the 48-year-old General Moses now actually holds the highest rank in military in Uganda. I think that's serious because
perhaps it's for the Ugandans to be worried and not us.
No, both of us, because if I mean a careless comment like that cannot potentially come from someone that has, you know, risen through the ranks very quickly, has been just made, you know, a military general now, and he's not elected, so he doesn't actually have the mandate of the people of Uganda, as it were. But then he has the blessings of his dad. He's just recently, you know, got promotion as late as last week. And his first comment is the one for, you know, we're gonna take over Nairobi. It won't take me. I think that's just careless. And of course Museveni and President Museveni and being our neighbor, being the senior elder he is, we have to believe that he means well and that his apology actually stands. It's just that it's worrisome. It's worrisome because here is a new general, you know, who's just been made general. You know, he wants to celebrate. He probably wants to gain a bit of, you know, fame in Uganda and Kampala, as it were. But it's just worrisome because that could potentially become the next president for Uganda.
And you know, this I can tell you, in a way, came in as a blessing in disguise for the likes of the Deputy President, Honorable Rigathi Gachagua, because it was at that moment as well that Kenyans were trying to remind him, sir, you might need to go slow on some of these utterances that you make. And so to equate that to what plays out in the country, just what is required for our leaders to understand very well that they cease to be just any other person, any other Tom, Dick and Harry. And it's important that before they come out to speak of a matter, then they have facts, then they understand what it is that they're telling to the people, and also the form in which they take in terms of, you know, articulating some of these matters.
I think for General Mhosi, Kainerubaga.
Oh, that's a tongue twister. Kainerubaga, yes.
I think it was completely unfortunate for that kind of a statement coming from an army general who is in charge of the RAD forces. And he is talking about taking occupation of Nairobi within 14 days. And he even says that it might even take some less time. And this is a guy, also the son of the president of Uganda. I think that I have not come across such a careless statement for a long time. And I think the people of East Africa, including mainly Kenya and Uganda, had a reason to get very worried. If he was looking for publicity, he got it. And I think his main intention was that he brings the East Africa to his attention, that he is there. And definitely, it means that it was supposed to address his ambitions as the next leader for Uganda, because actually it seems that is where we are going. And when you say what his father, the president, did, a slap on the wrist, telling him, I promoted you to a full general.
He says he has his fair share of goodness, yes, and therefore that
there are so many good things you have done.
Yeah.
But also a slap on the wrist because of all those small bad things you have done, what you do for a truant son. But this one affected serious issues in the whole of East Africa. Therefore, for readers, we need to be very careful what we say. Whatever we say, it does not belong to us. It belongs to this country, and it defines our tomorrow and our future.
Right.
So we have to be very careful.
Indeed. Yeah, but we must be alive to, the diplomatic tiff and what it has for his what is it called? His apology. I think the apology that comes from the dad is what probably worries Kenyans.
Okay.
We probably haven't expected the same, and I know he has done the same over the tweet, but maybe a statement to explain, you know, this is what, maybe this is the reason as to why I made such a tweet, and maybe I regret my tweet, and probably, yeah. But also, I mean, this was very interesting for me when, as we said, Mr. Museveni says we should discourage the negative and look at the positive. There are many other things this guy has done
that are good, yes.
Yeah, so can we focus on that? Yeah, and I think like any other dad will go like, you know, I mean, he's still your son. He's wronged you
above
once,
everything.
yeah. So, but then the question is, really, this is a diplomatic tiff on the two countries, and of course, we had conversations about people spending, burning the midnight oil to see how we resolve the matter. Yeah, so I think maybe going forward, as you say, there are concerns. What should we say, especially when we hold such high-ranking officers?
And you know, we are also talking about democratic or diplomatic tiffs that have been there, and we understand that one of the reasons why the president will be out of the country to these other regions is because they seek to see how best they can address the Ethiopian, you know, state of despondence, especially on these matters of the Tigray and all that. And so this, as of course SA is set to have to conduct that meeting. Definitely, we want a peaceful coexistence as East Africa and as Africans, and this then is incumbent upon the leadership to make sure that that is accorded to us. And we look at Museveni, definitely we understand that he's amongst the oldest leaders of Africa in terms of their occupying this particular position. So we look forward to see how best this can be tamed. The president has not said something just yet. That is President William Ruto.
But they have accepted the apology or not?
Yes. And so we get to some different matters. The National Assembly today.
Yeah. I don't think the speaker...
You know, you were here the other day, and you said that this is a straightforward matter. Yes. It's as good as A, B, C, D. But, I mean, that is not what we saw the other day.
Let me tell you, Rita, I've really come to admire Speaker Moses Wetangula at this very early stage. Definitely, from the reading of the Political Parties Amendment Act and from the general overlook of the political situation in the country, actually, this is a clear-cut case. Who is the majority? Okay. But Wetangula, the rules of natural justice don't condemn anybody without giving them an opportunity to be heard. So everybody, the Kenya Kwanza, Azimio, were given all the time. He allowed everybody who had something to say it. So that when he is coming to make his decision, everybody knows they were given their space to say what they had to say. For that one, I give him an A. Yes. That was very good of him. Okay. The other issue is that Azimio, you know, they were trying to force things down our throats when we were coming to the elections. Everything, they did not care about what Mwananchi is saying. It is what they thought they are planning here in Nairobi that will take the day, will carry the day. And they forgot the people, and that is why they are now crying. And the amendment they did, I made a very serious presentation in the National Assembly and also in the Senate on behalf of the County Assemblies Forum. And we told them that this thing is not good for this country. Okay. It is this law is being created for the present and not for the future. And therefore, it was a selfish piece of legislation. Today, it will haunt Azimio, because I have no doubt that Moses Wetangula delivering a ruling within the confines of the Political Parties Act and the Constitution on the rights of association and assembly, and the Political Parties Amendment Act on the organizational structure of a coalition party like Azimio, and the nomination rules. It is clear that Azimio can never be the majority in that house. What the coalition party, it must have a general organizational structure on which all the parties agree to and commit to. Yeah. It must also have nomination rules. Actually, the members of those political parties should have gone to primaries. Okay. And then Azimio would have, in every electoral space, they should have taken a candidate to face the other political parties. They decided to be selfish. They are applying the Political Parties Amendment Act the way they want to apply it, because they think they thought they were in power, they could do everything they wanted to do. What we have today there, Azimio has no single member of parliament. What we have to Wiper Democratic Party has its members there. They are independent of Azimio Party because their general structure as provided for under the Amendment Act, they never followed it. Nomination rules, they ignored them of that political parties. You cannot have your cake and eat it.
Right.
When you refused to cooperate and operate within Azimio, then you remain independent. General and plain interpretation of the Political Parties Amendment Act.
Okay.
So in that assembly, we have Wiper, we have the other parties separate. And I don't agree with my friend, Jeremiah Keoni, also a lawyer from Nyandaro. I don't agree on many things with him at all. But on this one, I agree. He wrote to Parliament and he said, this is our list from Jubilee because we appreciate that we don't operate at Azimio. Okay. Jubilee is a member of Azimio, but our members are not members of Azimio. They were elected on Jubilee ticket.
Okay.
Therefore, on that one, I agree with Jeremiah, and he has never got it right on many issues.
Okay.
But on this one, is spot on. Therefore, I expect Wetangula will rule that Kenya Kwanza is the majority, and then this ODM.
So Kenya Kwanza
not Azimio.
or UDA? Kenya Kwanza or UDA?
Kenya Kwanza.
Kenya Kwanza.
That is a coalition of political parties.
Registered with the political
Registered with the political parties.
Initially, they said the registration wasn't as clear as day, and therefore...
No, it is very clear. The fresh registrations that have come, which don't affect us, is the UDM.
Yes.
That
one for...
The PA, they are independent. Whether they are in Azimio or Kenya Kwanza, they are independent. So if you look at UDA and ODM, and by extension Kenya Kwanza, because Kenya Kwanza, the coalition agreement is legitimate.
Yes.
And is solid, and it is founded. But for Azimio, they don't have any member.
So
Kenya Kwanza will be the majority party, and ODM, not Azimio.
Okay,
will be the
minority. It will be interesting to watch. Let's take a short break. I'm sure that is the bone of contention, and that is the biggest story that we are looking to understand what shape it takes. That is later in the day. So allow us to take a short break, and then we come back and expound some more on that.
Disability is not only limited to physical disorder, but also mental issue. From depression.
I was under depression for like 2 years.
Bipolar.
Bipolar disorder is a mood disorder.
And even suicidal thoughts.
When I was just about to hang myself, a certain voice just talked to me, and I believe that was God. I tried suicide more than 6 times.
Beyond the Limit has gone beyond its limit to find answers so as to help everyone go through life with ease. Join Muthoni Maina every Saturday at 7:30 p.m. Starting this September at 8:30 p.m. on Tuesday, The Realtor brings it all to perspective.
Ndeza kwa kukuletea vyombo maridadi vya plastiki.
Disability is not only limited to physical disorder, but also mental issue. From depression.
I was under depression for like 2 years.
Bipolar.
Bipolar disorder is mood disorder.
And even suicidal thoughts.
When I was just about to hang myself, a certain voice just talked to me, and I believe that was God. I tried suicide more than 6 times.
Beyond the Limit has gone beyond its limit to find answers so as to help everyone go through life with ease. Join Muthoni Maina every Saturday at 7:30 p.m. Starting this September at 8:30 p.m. on Tuesday, The Realtor brings it all to perspective. We identify a property, discuss and demonstrate the journey towards EV47, the home of untold stories.
Tim Kipchumba, Patience Nyange, and Ndego Home, our guests this morning. And we come to you, Kipchumba, on the very same matter, as we all are pregnant with expectation to see who's going to be the majority and the minority. And we understand the importance of taking the majority, especially if you are the government of the day. And that at this point, then we also realize that this position is bound to change if we're going to have that clause of the freedom of association then embraced, because then we're going to be having switch from this party to the other, defection from this party to the other, and sometimes perhaps without us having to go for by-elections, which I think should be the way to go, because then you also need to go and seek a fresh mandate from the people. Tell them that you voted me in under the outfit Jubilee, but now I have left Jubilee for UDA, and therefore I'm coming back to you to seek for a fresh mandate, this time around under a different party. What are your expectations for the day? In terms of the numbers, this, they say, should have ended at the level of the polling station. Why is it that today then it becomes trouble?
I mean, to be honest, I think that Azimio, they're just managing their part of their constituent. I think they already know they lost their house. They lost their house not just in this last general election. They lost it when, in the last parliament, they amended, they did the political party amendments bill, because had that amendment not been done, they would be in a better shape right now. But as we speak today, the only member in Azimio is,
Right,
Honorable, Raila Amolo Odinga, Martha Karua, and the 28, 29 constituent parties, as it were.
Yeah.
And so of course, we expected that Azimio have absolutely no case. But I like the tolerance of the speaker. Just listening to people. I think it's also part of healing. You can't just tell people that they lost the last election, they've now lost parliament. I think part of it is just to have a national discourse. But it's really unfortunate, because that myopia that we saw in the last 5 years has just continued to actually haunt not just Azimio, but potentially haunt us as a country. Because right now what we are seeing Azimio say that members, or rather individual members of individual parties within Azimio parties are forced to actually stay within Azimio, but they don't want to stay, as it were. And there is no legal framework. It's not like Kenya Kwanza, where they have, an agreement, a legitimate agreement of how they operate. So right now, they actually absolutely have no case at all. So I expected that the speaker will rule in favor of Kenya Kwanza, and rightly so. I mean, I think that parties, especially if they don't have, they didn't follow through. There were no nominations done within ODM. There were no nominations done within the individual. There were no nominations done under Azimio. So already you don't have, mandate from the electors, as it were. So I expected that, freedom of association enshrined in the Constitution. I expect that the party will actually, the speaker will rule in favor of Kenya Kwanza.
Yeah.
And I think it's fair for them. You cannot have. You cannot have them frustrated. You cannot have the House Business Committee that is not in favor of Kenya Kwanza.
Yeah.
I think it will be. I think this is a straightforward win for Kenya Kwanza, and I think that the president is in a hurry. He really wants to get back to business, but he cannot get back to business if the House is not properly constituted in his favor. But I think everyone can see that Azimio has lost this one, and it could have been a little bit better had they not actually done that amendment in 2021.
Okay, well, our patience that it is a surprise and a big one for the president to decide to get into the presence of Parliament as the head of state, as a person who's occupied a space at this very same presence. And certainly, as you know, the head of a majority of people that as well occupy this very house, and that this then some individual would read mischief in that. What does it speak generally when you look at the fact that the president yesterday made that impromptu visit and, you know, had a session with the speaker, that really there was some essence of coercion, as the other side would argue, in terms of, you know, the ruling that we expect today?
Well, I watched news yesterday, and I also followed conversations on social media platforms, and I could see divided thinking. Yeah, those who praised him for getting there and dining with the MPs. I think for me, I looked at it as a good gesture, that he was there as he's the president, and therefore it's a space that he's going to work with. And he said it very openly that I'm happy to work with all people. Yeah. I'm happy to see that there is an opposition that keeps us on check, but regardless of the political parties, well, these are people who are going to help him achieve his mandate or his manifesto, or ensure that within the next 5 years he delivers what he promised for Kenya. And therefore I looked at it as a simple lunch gesture. There was a meeting that we don't know the details, and there was no press briefing thereafter, so we don't know what really transpired in that meeting. But we understand that he held a meeting for 1 hour with the national speaker of the National Assembly, Moses Wetangula, and so we don't know the details of the meeting. So if we had maybe known the details of the meeting, or probably if there was a press briefing thereafter, then it would have been easier for us to say, okay, well, this is why the meeting was held. But well, there are people who saw it as intimidation and coercion as well, and said just his presence there, it has never been done since the promulgation of the 2010 constitution. It's the first time that they have seen a sitting president get to the to the bounds of the National Assembly. And so what does that indicate? And I think for me it's a divided conversation. I think that those who saw it, especially for him just queuing like the normal Mwananchi will do, many people said, and I saw yesterday a tweet that was very interesting. One of the persons said, said, please let's remind the president that he's now the president. You know, all of us love to queue as jeans and, you know. But shall we just try and tell him, please, no, you cannot be queuing.
There's a limit to this.
There's a limit to this.
There's a limit to this.
But for me, I felt like, I mean, that's the president I know.
Easy.
He's easy. And he's, I mean, and most of the time, really, people queue for just like every other person, because even the MPs were queuing. So in my understanding, it's still just him and his colleagues. It's just an easy lunch. We're all here. I am happy not to be served, but I'm happy to just serve myself, which I think for me is really a gesture of public humility, humility. And probably that's really it's a different president that we are looking at. And maybe his own way of, leadership and his style is going to be like that. When I find you eating, I'm happy to dine with you. I'm happy to sit in the spaces that you are in. And because, again, these are legislators. These are people who have also been elected. They represent who he is. And this is the current presidency and the current government that we are in. I felt it was a beautiful
thing. And, you know, at the level of parliament, he could be forgiven. But as well, outside, while we would say that we've also seen President Uhuru Kenyatta do that, there are instances that you're reminded that you're the head of state, and we all understand the security issues or dangers that would come along with that. I remember the other day during the burial of the deputy president's brother, there was this lady who stood up almost immediately when the president did, and perhaps just trying to pass some message, and the president says, cool down, we're going to sort you, we're going to sort you. This is not the first time that we're saying this. And so the others who felt like, it's actually the president that is entertaining this, perhaps it's time that he says, no to such things, because you all are aware of the dangers that would come along with that, and therefore we really need to have our president protected. Maybe that's the reason why we say this. And I mean, you would want to have someone you can hold to account in the event that something that is unfortunate plays out, which we do not hope that it does.
I still want to
you still want to briefly.
I still want to believe even his security personnel were right there. So even within the case of the burial at Nyeri, in Nyeri, I want to believe that also his security personnel were right there watching, and that's why the matter was settled, and he kept saying. And I think it was very important for him to respond. So because then he's sending a message, I see you, I hear you, and I'm happy to tackle this matter. And even since, and because it is a woman, he easily says, Mama Rachel ako hapo atakuangalia, atakusort.
All right.
I would want to start with Nyeri. Actually, I was there. just very near where that woman was.
Okay.
And I think that is President William Ruto for you. This is not the first time. As a deputy president, when he was campaigning, and as president, he has not changed an inch. And what the president has done is also to remove that veil of mystery around the presidency.
Yeah.
And he is communicating to the people of Kenya that I'm just first among equals, and we are all citizens of this country. And I understand your challenges, and you should also understand me, and appreciate that I also appreciate your challenges.
Yeah.
So this is the Ruto that we all know. Like now, Rida, you will be surprised that in a place like Nyandarua, that the president knows those MCAs in the last assembly,
right.
2017,
All of
2022.
them.
He knows almost all of them by name.
Wow.
Wherever you would meet them. And this is the president, as a deputy president, and even when campaigning for president, is a guy who will pick his phone and call you. And that even today, I know I was a campaigner for the former president, as the Secretary General of TNA in Nyandarua, and also was coordinating Laikipia counties. And immediately he was pronounced as the president-elect. The phone went off completely from that day.
And that is what the governor of Nyeri was saying. Please remind him not to
take that
to take that direction. Yes.
Now the president even today is on.
Yeah.
And he is an easy guy to deal with. And the way he dealt with the Nyeri case, that human face, that we understand you, we understand you have challenges. In Parliament, I was very happy when he came to Parliament. And he is not coming to Parliament as a stranger or to come to cause and influence the issues. He knows most of these MPs, those in the opposition and in government, he knows them by name. They are his friends. This is the president who has visited every village in this country. And therefore, he was among colleagues and even lining up. These are the issues we want at these difficult times. And when we have serious challenges, that we see a president who is acting and conducting himself in the way that we conduct ourselves in normal circumstances. And even for his own security. I think that is very important when you are picking food like everybody else. And going and sitting somewhere.
I knew you would say
people to bring
for yours to be special, it could be special and targeted,
So in a way, we appreciate the way he is conducting his business as our leader. And we definitely, what we can say is that as leaders and as Kenyans, we continue to support him. And we know he wants the best for this country. He has taken up a country that is broken, and he needs everybody on board. And that is the reason he even goes to Parliament. He does not want to that pull and push in Parliament. He wants to bring everybody together. The challenges are that we are facing are insurmountable, and he knows that he needs everybody. He says we want everybody's hands on the deck, so that we are able to move this country forward.
This is a president that wanted 10,000 Aslas at State House. Did you expect him to change? He wanted Aslas to actually see State House. He wanted them to get closer to power. Certainly, I know what people are worried about. They're worried about the separation of powers. But to be honest, he's a politician. And actually what I read, and I think it will be a fast, is a sense of urgency. It's like, let's get this going. Let's get done. And whatever it takes for me as a president, if it takes a lunch for us to make this happen, let's do it together, because we need to get into the urgent business of doing whatever we need to do to serve Kenyans. Because I also think that we need more people. If there was one thing that Kenyans got right with the election of President William Samoei Ruto, it's that he will actually work. That's a rare thing. To actually have the president wanting to work, picking the phone call, going out there and working. And I think that's really, and so people are in for many, many more surprises. If they are surprised that the president is gonna go for lunch, they will be even more surprised in the coming days. There will be so many fasts with the current president that we have. He will break so many records, because all he really wants, even the way we will define outcomes will be very different. It's not going to just be GDP. It's going to be number of farmers we have touched. It's going to be, how many kilos of fertilizers. The cabinet meetings will change. And that's really exciting. Like, for the first time, we actually have a president that gets the mood of the country and says, you know what, whatever it takes, let's step in. We need to do whatever we need to do. Now he's in a hurry to make sure that the cabinet is actually set up so that they can begin discharging the duties that he has sworn to deliver. Yes.
Okay. And one of those gestures that we're saying is a surprise is how he gets during the cabinet meetings. I mean, he gets there and says hi to everybody, shakes their hand and prays, you know. So he's in charge, and I think for me that's a beautiful thing to see.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And also he keeps time.
He does.
President. Yeah. Whenever there is issues of time, even yesterday for the lunch meeting, you know, he was there on time.
Yes.
And also in no other meetings. This is a president who says that I'll be there at 8 o'clock. You are not there, you'll find him seated.
Wow.
And there are times, you know, we had rough, time is the primary capital of development and of progress. And when at the top, time becomes not a factor, it is very dangerous. So again, that is another issue, that an attribute that I really appreciate that we have a president. When you are a president, you are late for 1 hour. You have kept everybody at a standstill for 1 hour.
True.
Very serious losses for the economy. But for this president, it is 8, it is 8.
It is 8.
This country will move on.
Okay.
And you know, we appreciate that the culture trickles down, because you know, you go to, if you are in mashinani most of the time, you ask for a meeting at 10 and people don't show up at 10, because the understanding is waheshimiwa watachelewa tu. Masaa mawili, masaa matatu.
Mostly even on set, when I invite them, I am always like, mheshimiwa atachelewa. There are only 2, 3, 4. Like, mheshimiwa here is always on time. In fact, there are instances where like once, twice, he's not showed up, and I'm like, this is so unlike mheshimiwa. By the time it is 6:20, I'm looking around and I'm saying, so unlike him, because you say it is 6, he is here at 6.
Yeah. Yeah, and I also keep time.
Well, thank you. Oh, which you did. Yes, that we appreciate. And I'm glad that you mentioned mashinani. Let's talk for a moment matters devolution. They say that there appears to be some way of stifling the gains that we've made on the question of devolution, in as much as they have mentioned something to do with devolution in, you know, their manifestos, in their day-to-day talk. The scrapping off of the devolution ministry got very many people asking just what is happening. You know, the conversation that perhaps we want to have the national government going deep into the aspect of, you know, devolution without having to empower so much so of it is a bit of a worry. But we keep saying that for the country and for the president to be successful in his win this time around, and, you know, in his leadership, there is no question about us getting it right on the question of devolution. First of all, I am saying this on basis of this story that has been captured on the papers this morning. Counties fail to collect about 216 billion revenue, a story captured on page 10. There's so much, a raft of issues that we need to speak to on the question of devolution, and the fact that you have also presented yourself to represent people, again, on these very, very levels. What will it take for us to get this devolution right, or what will it take for President Ruto to get it right on the question of devolution, so that when he speaks of success, he speaks of success that has gone all the way to the grassroots, as he would say, to the hustler?
Okay, I think on that one, Leader, I would want to say that this is a president who understands devolution because he has worked with the grassroots.
Yeah.
And as the chair of the IBEC, which obviously is the primary port of call in terms of budget making, and he has been the chair for the last 10 years. And I have been attending those meetings of IBEC, and he has been raising these concerns about the devolution units not collecting revenue that they should collect.
Yeah.
And obviously it is the issue of corruption, as we have said. And the main issue is that this revenue that is not collected and is projected in the budgets is one of the reasons why we have these pending bills. Because the governors will project to collect 1 billion, they collect 500, and those people who are not politically aligned to them or politically correct, they are the people who will be left with the pending bills of the projected revenue of 500 million that was never collected.
Right.
And therefore, when it continues that way for 10 years, that is 5 billion. For a county like Nyandarua, that is the entire budget for the whole year.
Yeah.
So I am believing that the president, being a hands-on person and having agreed to empower the agencies of government, the Commission on Revenue Allocation, the Controller of Budget, the Auditor General's Office, the DCI, the EACC, we expect that everybody in their space, especially the devolution space, which is in contact with the people directly, that those executives and assemblies will do the right thing. I'm very happy about the devolution ministry being done away with. And that was our contention as county assemblies. We are saying that we are a government. We don't need a big brother to be telling us what to do in the morning and in the evening. And when I have come here, I've said as much, that we just need policy direction. As intergovernmental relations unit, it has been put at the office of the Deputy President. And we expect that it is purely to standardize and the policies that will go to the counties for implementation separately by the devolution units according to their circumstances. Otherwise, we want these governments to do their work and be able to be semi-independent as expected by the Constitution. But also, you cannot say you want to be independent when you are relying almost 100% on the national government. We expect that the county governments should start being self-reliant. Nyandarua, we collected 380 million during the term of the last governor. During the term of the first governor, we were collecting 450. You start asking yourself, would we be going higher or not? Nyandarua, we can collect 1 billion. And at some time, we should start even considering lending to the national government. But this is if the institutions of democracy and governance are strengthened so that they are watching over. Although they are independent, they are not independent to kill their people. They are independent to serve the people. If they change direction, the trajectory, then they should have some questions to answer.
And you know, Patience, they say that really devolution is a beautiful thing, at least from those ones that have been there for the past 10 years, have exited the stage, have left the space for other people. You also had, this moment, of desire to, serve the people. One of the communities that has had their very own people saying that, we have been marginalized, would love to be as good as this particular county or this very region. And so just how important would it be for the leadership of these, specific counties and regions to push to make sure that they see that there is development felt by their very own people? Because if it is not going to happen with devolution, then I doubt it will ever happen. And why is it that we still have bad reports in terms of, how monies have been collected, collection of revenue being low, and also how monies have been used at the very level of, that is, the counties?
Well, interesting conversation right there. I think for me, I will also have posed the same question. Did we have to see the Ministry of Devolution for us to be comfortable or to be, to be happy that the matters devolution have been taken care of? And I have worked for the Ministry of Devolution and Planning in the year 2014 all the way to 2016 and had chances at least to see how it was during that time, because it was really one of the biggest ministries, and the CS, Madam Anne Waiguru, that time. And of course, looking at all those, my biggest concern was what are the roles of Minister of Devolution and Planning as they were anticipated then? Have those roles been, now maybe changed to different ministries? But I want to believe that the people who sat down and agreed that it's going to be scrapped off or it is not going to be there, the different roles that were anticipated to be under Minister of Devolution and Planning have been taken care of. It's changed names from the Minister of Devolution and Planning to Minister of Devolution, and now it's no longer there. But I want to believe that, we have senators, we have governors, we have MCAs, we have members of parliament. All these are really working with people mashinani. And in my understanding, they are all these persons who have taken these roles are probably the biggest people who will see whether devolution works or not. And therefore, they have a big role to see that at the county level, the funds that they get are used prudently. The funds that they get, every person who needs to see that devolution has worked, has actually worked. I have been in the field, for example, in my county, in Taita Taveta County. The same issues that we had like 10 years ago, or let's say in the year 2013, when we were electing the first leaders under devolution, are the same problems that people are really, talking about in 2022. That's about 10 years down the line. And so the question is, what do we need to see in different in the current regime? And so people have had these conversations, and the conversations are coming out, and people are discussing. And I like the fact that now with social media platforms, we're able to hold our leaders accountable. We're able to have these conversations and challenge them and talk to them and say, you know, we want to be participants. And most of the time, I think the citizens themselves too have a role, and the role does not end with electing leaders, but it's also holding the leaders accountable, getting to know what is happening in day-to-day running of the counties. You know, matters when you don't have water, it's a crisis. You need to talk about it. You need to understand what do we do when the roads are in deplorable situations. Then it's a conversation that everyone else wants to be part and parcel of. So I want to say, I think devolution, the spirit of devolution really is huduma karibu na mwananchi, mashinani kabisa. Yeah, so we all need to question day in, day out. Are we getting the services that we anticipated, or the spirit of devolution anticipated? And if we are not, then the constitution itself gives us another chance to elect different leaders every 5 years.
All right. Well, Kipchumba, allow us to take a short break and also come back and get your submissions on the same. We have some projections here, facts that have been registered in terms of numbers that are a little bit worrying, and of course gets us to a point of asking, is really this talk that devolution is the most beautiful thing that would happen to the people in Mashinani really a talk that we can bank and count on? After this break.
You are watching TV 47, the home of untold stories. Disability is not only limited to physical disorder, but also mental issue. From depression.
I was under depression for like 2 years.
Bipolar.
Bipolar disorder is a mood disorder.
And even suicidal thoughts.
When I was just about to hang myself, a certain voice just talked to me, and I believe that was God. I tried suicide more than 6 times.
Beyond the Limit has gone beyond its limit to find answers so as to help everyone go through life with ease. Join Muthoni Maina every Saturday at 7:30 p.m. Starting this September at 8:30 p.m. on Tuesday, The Realtor brings it all to perspective. We identify a property, discuss and demonstrate the journey towards ownership.
Professionals who have integrity, and from their catalog you can easily read that these are professionals who are able to deliver.
Everywhere you go, you have to up your games. You have to go with the trends.
Not forgetting the margins as well as the risks that come along.
The runaway prices of the land. We are saying that it's something that we can never go without mentioning. Any developer will not go without mentioning price of land.
Don't miss out. 10 p.m. to 1 a.m. You are watching TV 47, the home of untold stories.
All right, welcome back to the broadcast, and on the last laps of this very one, as we look at the question of devolution, to argue that devolution really is the best thing that has happened to us when we are talking about 43 counties out of the 47, failing to meet the target of revenue collection. And if there are those ones that have attempted, then we're talking about 8 that have at least gotten into the 90% mark. How can we confidently say that this is the best thing for the people?
I mean, absolutely. I mean, maybe just before I answer that, Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission should be removed, just the same way should be
abolished. Oh, you want to revive this talk? Okay, the EACC.
Just the same way devolution should be scrapped. Because can you imagine if we have to have commissions for every sin, for every illegality in the constitution or in the laws of the land? Like, it's just unbelievable. Like, you should never have to have Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission. It should just be illegal for you to be corrupt, and if you are found culpable, you go get jailed. That's it. So it's the same for devolution. I think the spirit of devolution is that money should reach Amamamboga in Elgeyo Marakwet County. It should reach the spirit of devolution is that the SME and the Ministry of Cooperative Development should receive that 50 or 250 billion Kenya shillings, and that money should reach the intended beneficiaries. So if we're giving fertilizer to farmers, it should reach those farmers. And that's really the spirit. It's not to have a commission. People are earning 2 million shillings in Nairobi, and then if you look at their record in the last 10 years or 15 years, it's absolutely nothing. But just to come to, and that's part of the reason why, the equalization fund, for instance, should reach people like, Elgeyo Marakwet County, where we've been marginalized. We are an ASAL. We've been affected by banditry. We've been affected by, cattle rustling. We've had neglect by the state. We are National Police Reserve recalled. And as a matter of fact, we are now pushing for compensation for the people of Elgeyo Marakwet County that were actually not, that were affected in the last decade because of government negligence, as it were. But to say that devolution has worked in Kenya, it has. I mean, Kenya is a leader in development innovation for two things. One is the CDF Act. Okay, even if it's now been invalidated, and it's unfortunate that the CDF Act was invalidated, because one of the most instrumental things for education in this country, for development in this country, was the CDF Act of 2013. Thankfully, we now have CDF Act of 2015, so that's really fantastic. But the other thing is, devolved governance, as it were. Unfortunately, the last government was so hung up on devolving the functions, but never devolving the funds. And so what we really, really need is, when we say devolution, we actually really mean mashinane. We mean that the money and the services move from Nairobi and reaches people on the ground.
And do you believe that if this money then is disbursed on time and, in right amounts, then definitely we are going to realize that aspect where then counties will start generating their own revenue?
Do counties have challenges? Absolutely, they have challenges. Counties have their own problems. I mean, honestly, 215 billion is far less than counties should generate. Counties should actually ideally generate, remember, that's already close to 50% of the amount of funds that is being sent to counties. So ideally, counties should be self-sufficient, and we should task governors to be self-sufficient. Counties should generate a billion shillings minimum, a trillion shillings minimum annually. Okay, they have the potential to do that, and they have more capacity. They can attract money from investors, they can attract money from development finance institutions, they can attract capital from non-governmental institutions. They can actually build private sector companies with CEOs, and they can actually empower those entities to do business on their own. They can make it easy. Units, governors, and can come together as blocks and begin doing trading blocks. So we should task governors, as it were, to generate revenue. Ideally, my soft target would be at least 1 trillion Kenya shillings, which means that they should ideally even be sending money back to the national. But we can never go back now as a country. I think devolution is the way to go. As a matter of fact, the question should be, with the ASLA fund coming up, with SME and MSME development coming up, with agriculture-focused economy, with skill, with a focus on skill, skilled and non-skilled opportunities for the young people of this country, how else can we make sure that as many young people, remember right now we have 6 to 9 million young people that don't need jobs. The last thing you want is, you don't want the governance, resources, power centered in Nairobi. You actually want that in the places where young people are likely to be. And so we must task governors, as it were, to raise revenue and to collect that revenue, and I agree. And I don't think the scrapping of Minister of Devolution was a welcome idea. Just the same way we should, in fact, if I end up becoming senator, the first commission to be scrapped is Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission. Because you really don't need another commission for one little tiny thing called corruption. Corruption is already illegal. People should be jailed for corruption, but you don't want commissioners for that. And if you look at the track record in the last 10 years, you can barely see. As a matter of fact, we should devolve that to courts. Courts, the true devolution is to actually have courts in mashinani, so that courts adjudicate cases as opposed to having highly paid commissioners that are barely functioning.
Well, interesting. Mheshimiwa, you've been at the heart of devolution and you agree that it's a beautiful thing. But how can we say it's beautiful when we're looking at these reports that 43 failed to meet the target? So that means how many? Only about less than 5, about 4, yeah? Managed then to hit the target of revenue collection. That is to tell us, yes, there's hope and there's a possibility that indeed the counties can collect revenue, and only 8 counties managed to get or to hit the 90% mark. So we will be excited about the growth that devolution brings to the people. But if we do not get it right, then it's an exercise in futility. So how can we convince ourselves that there's that space for the growth of devolution, and especially when we have matters of corruption continuing to bedevil these spaces?
I think it is a very sad, very sorry situation, because the kind of monies that have come to the counties, you really don't see that money in terms of the magnitude of the monies and what is happening at the grassroots. I think devolution is a very good thing. And actually for those counties where they know exactly where they want to take their people, and who appreciate the concerns of their people and aspirations and address them. I've been to counties like Makueni, I've been to Kakamega, I've been like Ipia, I've been to Nakuru, several and many of the counties in this country. And you can see what those billions are doing in terms of transforming people's lives.
Right.
In Northeastern, especially on allocations for bursaries, where that education is transforming the lives of most families in the Northeastern. And in the first term of devolution, because I was still the speaker, the now re-elected governor of Garissa, of Wajir,
yes,
Abdurahi Ahmed, the kind of things he did in terms, especially in the health area.
Yeah.
And even Mandera, Ali Roba, now the senator. So devolution, if well cultivated, if our leaders commit and be patriotic to the concerns of our people, this country will develop. And I would tell you, Linda, that these projections on revenue collection are below par. In Nyandaro, when you project to collect 400 million, and you even don't collect 400 million, and in Nyandaro, you can with a lot of ease collect 1 billion. But the issues, and this is what I've been appealing throughout, wherever I get an opportunity to speak, is that I know our president, being a hands-on person, will ensure that there will be retributions for those who are in public spaces, but they are not serving the people. We expect that devolution should be seen to work. What is happening in the villages is that you are finding different lifestyles, completely different, about the villagers who are even begging for salt, even to put food on the table. And then teen millionaires who are minted within months of coming into government. That now you find a new government in Nyandaro within 2 months. People who are walking with the shoes that you just call shoes because they are covering the feet. Then now they are driving top of the rage vehicles. Within 2 months, within 3 months. But the common mwananchi, the millions at the villages, the same lifestyle. You don't improve the agriculture. Like in Nyandaro that you talk about people in Daragwa getting food aid. What are you talking about? And the water tower, the Abadeas, they are there. The Percy River is there. Everything is there. You require maybe 100 million only out of a budget of 8 billion to serve the people of Daragwa and ensure that they are even supplying food to other areas of this country.
Yeah.
So it is about management and what takes our people to offices. And if our people don't know what they go to do in offices, the institutions of this government and the agencies of government must make them wake up from their slumber.
Okay.
And appreciate what took them to office and start serving our people. It is very painful, leader, when you see billions, which you can never touch. Like now in Nyandarua, after 5 years of Governor Kimemia's leadership, there was not even a single flagship program that the president would come to launch there. The only programs that you can see in Nyandarua, after Kimemia gobbling down that $1 billion, what you can see there is the assembly office complex, the speaker's residence, which have costed about 700 million only. Right. But you cannot account for 29 billion. These we are saying are not acceptable. The people of Nyandarua should be middle income people with irrigation, because we are at the food basket.
It's important that we make the best of our homes so that we can as well settle there comfortably. Yes. Therefore, when you run away from home, then people will start asking questions. Allow us to have a minute of calling this a day in terms of, just having your parting shots. Kipchumba.
I'm excited for the next decade. I'm excited for the young people of this country. I'm excited for all the people that are hustlers, as it were. I think it's the best decade. I think this decade requires legislators, politicians that want to help create wealth and help create jobs. The greatest opportunity for the next decade is to connect and create jobs for young people in this country, and that's something that I really want to do.
Okay, all the best, all the best, and yes, patience.
Yeah, first I wish him all the best in his quest to get the senatorial seat in Marakwet. I wish you the very best. Well, just like he's excited for the young people, I'm equally excited for the young people. I'm equally excited for the women of Kenya. I think we've come a long way, and it's a beautiful time to see that women have a space in this country. And I want to reiterate the fact that we were promised 50-50. We continue to see that that will happen.
Yeah, okay. They still are forming the cabinet, right?
Yes, we're still forming the cabinet, and therefore I think I look forward to seeing more women in many positions and taking leadership positions in this country. The many parastatals coming up, their PS positions, their CAS positions, hopefully, and therefore then the women have a space finally, and we hope that that continues. I'm equally happy to see that all of us as citizens of Kenya see that we have a role to play in nation building. It's not just the elected leaders that have a role to play, but all of us must really be accountable to see that the leaders, we keep them in check and have these conversations that we are not just spectators, but we are actually participants in ensuring that we have a beautiful country that we love. So I wish the president all the very best in his many days as he hopes to steer this country to different levels altogether. And we look forward to seeing that this afternoon we know who becomes the
majority, and the minority as well, I guess.
As well. Peacefully, that's what I'm looking for.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. All right, Mheshimiwa.
Thank you very much, Rita. And I would want to say that for Kenyans, we are over with the elections. Now it is time to work hard. There are no freebies that will come from this government. You have to soil your hands. You have to work extra hours to be able to serve your family now, serve yourself, and serve the future of this country. Where we are saying that there is a lot of prosperity in America and Europe, if you talk to our brothers and sisters who are working from there, they work for 3-4 shifts, a total of maybe 18 hours in a day. Nothing comes for free. Kenyans should go back to their spaces, work extra hard to ensure that this country moves on. There is the issue of food security, which is a very big challenge. Like in Nyandarua, you'll find tracts and tracts of land which are there are no activities happening there. Let us go back to our farms. Let us and that we have a supportive government in terms of subsidies and on farm inputs. Let us go and soil our hands. Let us provide food for Kenyans, and let us be able, in the process, to put money into our pockets. So for this country today, let the leaders be patriotic. Let them work for our people, and let our people work hard so that they can see returns on their hard work. And that way, we are going to be able to build a country where everybody feels proud, and we are able to ensure that even we create inheritance, even for our children and for future generations to come.
Asante sana, ladies and gentlemen, for the great submissions. It's all in the business of speaking to the matters that, affect us, that is right here in the country and beyond. And therefore, it's in the best interest that we do this every morning. We do not stop. Like Patience would say, we all need to be part and parcel of this game. Long gone are those days where we look at the serikali and we say serikali's idea, as they would always say. Thank you so much, the chairperson of the County Assembly's Honorable Ndegwa Wahome, for speaking to us and for always creating time to come to Morning Cafe, as well as Patience Anyange. Asante sana for creating time, and all the best. I like it when I see women, as well, embracing these spaces to come and articulate matters that are of us, instead of from, the flings, speaking of how women are not being given the chance as well.
And
Rita,
yes. I think it is bad manners to interrupt.
No problem.
I would want to join hands with the Patience
to
wish our friend, team, Kipchumba, all the best in his senatorial quest in Elgeyo Marakwet. All the best, my brother.
Thank you.
You have what it takes. We know you. We know your capacities. We hope that the people of Elgeyo Marakwet will appreciate that and put you into our Senate.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
All the best, Asante sana. We close this one, but not in totality. You know that in a bit, we get to hit the gym. It's important that then we all are looking good and healthy. So after this break, we'll be coming back with more.
You are watching TV 47, the home of untold stories. Want to know the meaning of a disability is not only limited to physical disorder but also mental issue. From depression,
I was under depression for like 2 years.
bipolar,
Bipolar disorder is a mood disorder.
and even suicidal thoughts.
When I was just about to hang myself, a certain voice just talked to me, and I believe that was God. I tried suicide more than 6 times.
Beyond the Limit has gone beyond its limit to find answers so as to help everyone go through life with ease. Join Muthoni Maina every Saturday at 7:30 p.m. Starting this September at 8:30 p.m. on Tuesday, The Realtor brings it all to perspective.
This is where you not only get
Disability is not only limited to physical disorder but also mental issue. From depression,
I was under depression for like 2 years.
bipolar,
Bipolar disorder is a mood disorder.
and even suicidal thoughts.
When I was just about to hang myself, a certain voice just talked to me, and I believe that was God. I tried suicide more than 6 times.
Beyond the Limit has gone beyond its limit to
statistics
find
of breast cancer. Look at a case study.
disability is not only limited to physical disorder but also mental issue. From depression,
I was under depression for like 2 years.
bipolar,
Bipolar disorder is a mood disorder.
and even suicidal thoughts.
When I was just about to hang myself, a certain voice just talked to me, and I believe that was God. I tried suicide more than 6 times.
Beyond the Limit has gone beyond its limit to find answers so as to help everyone go through life with ease. Join Muthoni Maina every Saturday at 7:30 p.m. Starting this September at 8:30 p.m. on Tuesday, The Realtor brings it all to perspective. We identify a property, discuss and demonstrate the journey towards ownership.
Professionals who have integrity.
Disability is not only limited to physical disorder but also mental issue. From depression,
I was under depression for like 2 years.
bipolar,
Bipolar disorder is a mood disorder.
And even suicidal thoughts.
When I was just about to hang myself, a certain voice just talked to me, and I believe that was God. I tried suicide more than 6 times.
Beyond the Limit has gone beyond its limit to find answers so as to help everyone go through life with ease. Join